this is a lesson you'll always have to remember. Whatever you love most in life is your master. Simple as that. Whatever you love most in your life is your master. If that is money, then you are a slave to money. If that is your spouse, then you are a slave to your spouse. If it is your children, and now I'm talking about something that's just like blows your mind as a woman, especially as a mother and as a father. We definitely ain't taught this, that there's a wrong way to love our children. What? There is a wrong way to love your children. Why do you think we have so many problems with the whole mother-in-law issue? Do you want to know the reason? Anybody want to know the reason? This is the reason. It's because the dynamic to begin with from day one was unhealthy. I'm telling you guys something maybe we don't want to hear, but it's the truth. The dynamic was unhealthy from day one because that boy, that son of yours was never supposed to be in that part. That part is saved for Allah. Your life was never supposed to revolve around your children. I know, it's like, what? Your life was never meant to revolve around your children. It's unhealthy. And actually, your life is supposed to revolve around Allah. This is something we're not taught. But it's unhealthy, and it creates unhealthy consequences. And yes, that is why we have an issue then when the son grows up and now he's getting married and all of a sudden there's a competition. There's not supposed to be a competition between a wife and a mom. That doesn't even make any sense. But the fact that there is only because the dynamic from day one was unhealthy and it was wrong. They taught you that you're supposed to revolve your life around your son, namely your son. They taught you that that's actually how to be a good mom. It's not how to be a good mom. It's unhealthy. Your life continues to revolve around Allah, whether you're married or unmarried, whether you're a mother or you're not a mother. And only when your central point in your life is Allah, your greatest and deepest devotion and love is for Allah, only then, and mark my words, only then will you have healthy relationships with the creation. Only then can you have a healthy relationship in a marriage and with your children and with your friends and with your colleagues. Only if you're putting everything in the right compartment. I'm not up here to tell you that you're not supposed to love your children. For God's sakes, we love our children to death. I'm not here to tell you you're not supposed to love your spouse. I'm not even telling you not to love money. Love these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger made it halal. But what does Allah warn us from? Allah warns us in the Quran. قُلْ إِنْ كَانَ آبَاؤُكُمْ أَوْ أَبْنَاؤُكُمْ. Allah in this ayah gives us a list of all halal things. All halal things. Say if your fathers, meaning your parents, your sons, your children. And Allah lists 8, I think, halal things to love. And He says your parents, your children, your spouse, your siblings, your wealth, your business where you fear decline. Is any of this halal? Is any of this haram? Does the ayah say your boyfriend or your gambling or your drinking habits? No, all halal. But Allah warns us, if any one of these things أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ is more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger, that's when you face a problem. Because even the halal, if it's loved in the wrong way, will cause much damage. And this damage will be to yourself and others. So the first thing I want to say is this. We have to put things in their proper place. When we say La ilaha illallah, when we say there's no ilah except for Allah, what we are saying is that nothing else goes in the core of our hearts and in the core of our lives. Nothing else do we revolve our existence around except for our Creator. And that can't be our money, it can't be our business, it can't be even our children or our spouse. It can't be status, it can't be power, it can't be our career. It can't be these things. And I'm going to tell you guys another secret. Remember how I told you about orange juice in the gas tank, right? How do you know? How do you know that you're loving something in the wrong way? I'm going to give you a very easy way to know. It's going to hurt like heck. It's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel right because the car knows that you just put orange juice inside of the gas tank. The car feels it. It doesn't run right. It actually ain't going to run. It's not going to run at all. So the way that you and I will know that we have things in the wrong compartment is that we become tormented by that which we put at the center where only Allah should be. Is that making sense? If that is your business, you will not sleep because of always your worry about your business. If it's your career, you won't be sleeping. You'll need to start taking pills to just calm yourself down. Because you put, and that's a sign, it's because you put it in the wrong compartment. If it's your children, same thing's gonna happen. They are going to torture you. And I'm not talking the normal torture, yeah? I'm talking a different kind of level of torture, of torment. If it's your spouse, even your spouse, you'll know because you'll feel it. You'll feel that pain. And that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showing us we need to move things around. We need to put Allah back at the center. You know, when I mentioned this whole thing about us mothers, when we raise our children, and if we have that dynamic incorrectly, what happens when they get older is, it's kind of like, well, I did tawaf around this boy my entire life, and now you think you're going to come and take him away? Right? Fair enough. You weren't supposed to be doing tawaf around him ever. Like that, this concept that your life begins and ends at your son was never healthy. No, that's not what it means to be a good mom. What it means to be a good mother is you have Allah at the center, and then you love your children, and then you love your spouse, and then you love everyone else, but Allah's at the center. You don't put Allah aside. You don't put Salah aside because you got soccer practice. You feel me? Oh, but I have to take my kid to XYZ, every kind of activity in the universe, but I'm missing my Salah. That means my priorities are off. Or I gotta cook this, so I'm missing Salah. That means that my priorities are off. And you're gonna find this. If someone that you love doesn't like your hijab, doesn't like it, doesn't look nice, someone you wanna marry, right? Or someone that you're already married to doesn't like your hijab, well, now it's a question, what's at the center, right? Because you're being actually told to choose. We have to make sure that we have the right thing at the center. If it is not Allah and His Messenger, we suffer and then we make others suffer. So that's the main thing I want to emphasize. And I actually don't have time to get to the other points because I had less than 20 minutes to talk about love. But I will say this very quickly. I do go into more detail about all this in my book, but something else I want to say quickly, and I won't have much time to emphasize it. Some other pitfalls we fall into when it comes to romantic love. One of the big ones is that we focus on the surface and we miss what's inside. Now, obviously, in terms of appearance, yes, this is an obvious thing. I think many of you already know about this. But there's another level of this which I've seen and I've experienced, and that is that a lot of times we mistaken, as the sister said, what I call surface romance. We mistaken surface romance for deep connection. And the two are very, very different. See, you might have a man or a woman who does these things for you, these things and these gestures that the sister was mentioning, the roses and the surprises and all of that. And you may believe that means that you have a connection. But there is a very, very big difference between surface romance and deep connection. Deep connection is about, and these are big terms, deep connection is about compatibility. Deep connection is about vulnerability. Deep connection cannot only just be in these gestures. So I advise you and all those who are looking, for example, for marriage, look deeper. And one last thing I want to say, I will tell you, and everyone who advises you will tell you, look for deen, look for character. Absolutely, those are a must. But I will also tell you that it is not enough. It is not enough. And I'm going to say this, and I know this from experience. What I speak about, I know from experience, that it is not enough. And there are many examples, namely even in our tradition, we know, for example, great people, Zayd and Zainab, they were both amazing character, they both amazing, had amazing morals and deen, but they were not compatible. They were not compatible, and so they actually got divorced. And so what I want to say to you is that, yes, you look for deen, yes, you look for character, but it is necessary, but not sufficient. It is not sufficient. You have to, and I cannot emphasize this enough, you have to look for compatibility. You have to look for compatibility. And I'm not just talking about surface compatibility. I'm not just talking about, I'm from Egypt, he's from Egypt, and so we're compatible. Right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a deeper level of compatibility, and that's again a whole other discussion. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه غفور رحيم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.